So Craig, our Obamacare expert, dropped us a note. He was frustrated because we talked to him for a while Friday about the president's...
In studio, he brought pastries and coffee.
That's right. We talked about the president's hastily assembled news conference and shocking announcement that... well, actually, I've got a Mark Stein piece about it that's absolutely brilliant. Love Mark. Where the president essentially... Well, I'm going to quote Stein here real quick. Having ordered America's insurance companies to comply with Obamacare, the president announced that he is now ordering them not to comply with Obamacare, more or less. And Craig said, to me, the most telling and insightful part of a portion, he said portion, not part, because he's smart, of President Obama's long, rambling quasi-apology on Thursday was his realization that large bureaucracies like the federal government simply don't work well and cannot manage an IT rollout like was required for Obamacare. Here are his words. This is a quote from the president. Look, what is true is that, as I said before, our IT systems, how we purchase technology in the federal government, is cumbersome, complicated, and outdated. And so this isn't a situation where, on my campaign, I could simply say, who are the best folks out there? Let's get them around a table. Let's figure out what we're doing, and we're just going to continue to improve it and refine it and work on our goals. If you're doing it at the federal government level, you're going through, 40 pages of specs and this and that and the other, and there's all kinds of laws involved. And it makes it more difficult. It's part of the reason why chronically federal IT programs are over budget, behind schedule. And one of the, when I do some Monday morning quarterbacking on myself, one of the things I do recognize is, since that I know the federal government has not been good at this stuff in the past, 2 years ago, as we were thinking about this, we might have done more to make sure that we're breaking the mold on how we were going to be setting this up. But that doesn't help us now. So the president said, if you do it in the private sector, it works great, but government's terrible at it. That really could have been the headline.
Yeah.
That's from the Washington Post.
I saw one story that the government has trouble attracting young, smart tech kids because they had one focus on one guy in particular, but he showed up to work and they had huge CRT, like the big fat chunky monitors on his desk, and they're using Windows 98. And he was like, well, what am I doing here?
Well, what would you be doing there? Why would you go? You go to Silicon Valley and you get a great job doing something, making you a lot of money that's cool and fun. Right. Or you go work for the government and you run Windows 98 on a great big, all the letters are green CRT sort of.
Well, and the very life's blood of that field is innovation, quick thinking, quick adjustments, great leaps forward. And that's the antithesis of government. And the president himself said it. And on the campaign, we could just say, let's get the best and brightest and make it work. Here, there's 40 pages of specs and all kinds of laws and all that.
Well, that's funny. That's funny that slipped by me, since I'm always looking for that sort of thing. He just announced that, in the private sector, you can do this sort of stuff, but in government, it just doesn't work. In my campaign, sure, we could do it. It was awesome.
Right. Yeah, that's big. I don't think many people notice it. So this Stein piece on the Obamacare thing, having ordered America's insurgent, he says on Thursday, the president passed a new law at a press conference. George III never did that. But having ordered America's insurance companies to comply with Obamacare, the president announced that he is now ordering them not to comply with Obamacare. The regulatory bureaucracy interpreted the law so as to ungrandfather your health plan, after the legislative branch, as it's quaintly known, passed a law purporting to grandfather your plan. So His Most Excellent Majesty has commanded that your health plan be de-ungrandfathered. That seems likely to work. The insurance industry had 3 years to prepare for the introduction of Obamacare. Now the king has given them 6 weeks to de-introduce Obamacare. I wonder if he has the legal authority to do this, mused former Vermont Governor Howard Dean. But Dean is obviously some kind of right-wing wacko.
Going to be interesting to see how this turns out. I think the next big shoe is the deadline, which is what? End of November?
Yes. Yeah. And then as companies, and I just read a story, it was a town in, I think, Missouri that had 30 full-time town employees, everything from the guy who mows the park to the comptroller. And they sent out the notice to all 30 of their employees that Blue Cross was no longer offering their plan and they had to get on the exchange. Now, this was That was an employer-sponsored health care plan. So all those many, many feet are going to be dropping as well, or shoes going to be dropping, I should say. But yeah, the next big one's the end of the month.
For the
2
website.
weeks. That's
what that's all about. They claim the website's going to be fixed by the end of the month, and most people don't seem to think that that's likely.
You know, I think they may be able to make it a lot better. I get the idea that they're doing okay at that.
Wouldn't take much to be way better.
Well, you know, the website exists mostly as an illustration of exactly what the president said, which is that when it comes to innovation and getting things done effectively and quickly, the government's horrible at it. And if that lesson rings from sea to shining sea, I'm just so happy about that. But at some point, all right, fine, the website works great. Let's talk about the policy. And I'm telling you, those shoes dropping are going to be many and heavy and nasty and covered with mud. People will hate when they drop, but we'll see.